Hi, my name is Jeff. I'm the Chief Curator here at Museum of the Bible, and glad to have you along today as we take another look at some of our galleries, show you some of the things that we hope you can come see when the museum opens again soon. We're back here in the Revolutionary War section of the Impact of the Bible on America exhibit here at Museum of the Bible. And this particular case shows books and Bibles that connect directly to the American Revolution. But I want to tell you about two Bibles here in the case that are known as the Aitken Bibles, named after a printer in Philadelphia named Robert Aitken. Very interesting figure in American Revolutionary War history. Came over to America from Scotland in 1770 to kind of make his fortune like a lot of people did. Saw some great opportunities, went back, brought his family, and then eventually settled in Philadelphia, which was pretty fortuitous because that's where the Continental Congress ended up having to flee after the British captured New York in 1776 into 1777. So Aitken runs his printing shop there in Philadelphia and becomes the official printer for the Congress. I'm sure you're very familiar with the Stamp Act and taxation without representation. You had the Boston Tea Party where there were taxes on tea, but they also banned the import of a lot of goods to try to put pressure on the colonies. And among the items that were banned from import were books, including Bibles. So they didn't have quality paper production in America. They cut the logs and pulped it and sent it to England, or just sent the logs to England. They didn't have quality printing presses in the US. They did all that in England and then sold the books to the colonies. Robert Aitken in 1777 sees an opportunity. He petitions the Congress to authorize the printing of a Bible. But at the time, in England, you could only print Bibles if you were authorized by the king. In America now, in the colonies, they didn't recognize the authority of the king. So who had authority to print Bibles? Who would you get the authorization from? So Robert Aitken sends a petition to the Continental Congress and says, hey, I'd like to print Bibles. We all know that we need these, and I'm the right guy to do it. And the Continental Congress, of course, has a lot on their minds at the time, and Aitken also made the mistake of asking the government for money. He wanted the government to pay for the printing. In today's dollars, it would have cost about $130,000. And the government said, look, we got the Valley Forge thing going on, we can't even pay our soldiers, so sorry, we can't really do the Bible thing. So Aitken said, fine, I'll go ahead and print the Bible on my own, and this is what he came up with. It's not very high quality. The paper is very thick. It's not what we're used to for our Bibles. But the margins, the print goes almost all the way out to the edges because he's trying to cram as much text into as few pages as possible. It kind of feels a lot more like a pamphlet or a magazine kind of a thing than it does a real book. And that's just reflective of the resources that were available to the colonies at that time. But it is the first New Testament fully printed in America. The second Aitken Bible is printed in 1782, and this time he prints the entire Old and New Testament as one holy Bible. Now, 4 years makes a big difference in timing. They still didn't have the technology really or the resources to print very nice Bibles like they did in Europe. So Aitken tries again. In January of 1781, he sends another petition to Congress and says, hey, we need Bibles. Will you authorize a Bible? That gets put off for a year. Nobody really pays attention to it. It gets referred to committee. You know how it goes in government. So he tries again in January 1782. And this time, the Congress refers it to two chaplains, and they recommend to a committee, headed actually by John Adams, that the Congress authorize the printing of the Bible. And they actually pass a resolution to authorize Aitken's printing of the Bible. It's not that different from the 1777 New Testament. It's about the same format, the same size of the pages. There's just a whole stack more pages because now you have the Old Testament included as well as the New Testament. But this was the best they could do in 1782, and again, represents the only Bible ever authorized by U.S. Congress. And you get to see that story happen here at Museum of the Bible. Hope I get to see you soon.